trouble gives you wings.
Our first series of the day was absolutely fantastic for a Valorant Game Changers Series 1. I don't doubt, though, with these next two teams, Buck, that we're going to be straying away from this epic Valorant gameplay, considering that we have Complexity and XSET on the horizon.
Look, I think that this game, in my mind, was the one that was maybe a little bit more coin-tossy in the day, but I also said that EG was probably going to win the previous series, especially with the way they started. I thought that EG looked really good coming into their opener, and I was wrong there, so maybe I'm wrong here as well. But Complexity and XSET facing off against one another, it feels like it should be a very tight series, but not in the same way as we see some other games where we're just seeing a lot of 13-10s, 13-11s. I feel like we could see both teams take their respective map picks with a pretty strong scoreline and then potentially go into a third map with a lot of gusto that ends up going very similar to how the last map went in the previous series, going deep into overtime, potentially multiple OTs. I just feel like these two teams do stack up on paper nicely against one another.
Yeah, I think this is definitely going to be an interesting one. Like, as we talked about yesterday, like, XSET is by far the newest roster in this event. Every single map we learn a little more about them, but again, there's a few unknowns. Like, how are they going to react to some of the other opponent's map picks? I think that's a good call, Bach, where it's probably going to be taking this to maybe a third map and a decider on a map that they're going to both be comfortable on.
I mean, talking about XSET and having that X factor, but Complexity does too, because what we've been able to see from this team and how they've been meshing together, I mean, both of these squads are made up of some superstars, some great names that we got to see running the Game Changer circuit just last year. So it's not really a surprise when we're looking ahead at both of these teams that we're expecting something great. XSET, we'll go back to that a little bit, because you're saying kind of the roster coming together. Let's elaborate a little bit further on that, Sapphire.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting pieces here. Obviously, the two stars you're probably going to say are Katsumi and Bob, players that are used to winning many championships. They dominated North America last year, were able to play in Worlds, and then picked up a lot of interesting pieces across the board. Some of the players maybe a little more unknown. Panday, who's just come in, absolutely dominating. And then we saw Bunny B, who played last year in Game Changers, like one of the most impressive raises in the tournament. And then Rise also has just had a big rising up lately, I think.
Nice.
So, there's a lot of interesting pieces here that have played well together, but individually, these players are very, very strong.
And these are two players I really think you can draw direct comparisons to, because they both play like a flex role. And by flex role, I mean they play whatever role they need to. Some people hear flex and they think, oh, like playing like an initiator more commonly and then slotting in as a sentinel or as a controller when needed. They will literally play anything, especially Bob. Bob, I think we talked about it yesterday, has played 8 roles throughout the open qualifiers and the main event so far, 8 different agents, which is kind of incredible in the last 30 days to play that many responsible roles. Lace, on the other hand, has played maybe fewer, but both do end up fulfilling very similar roles across their respective teams. And you can see the performances that both of them have had. Lace really started things off with a strong series to kick off Game Changers. The stats definitely deviated downward just a little bit after their disappointing match in these upper semifinals. But even still, I look at both of these teams and I look at these two players as two you really want to keep your eyes on.
Definitely. And Lace, last time we got to speak to her, was talking about, there's mistakes coming out for the team, but being able to play a lot more confident, a lot less scared going together, definitely a key in making things click. But I want to talk about, when we're talking about roles, these are obviously people known for quite a few different ones, and I want to specifically talk about Sumi looking ahead. because this was a player that previously on Cloud9 White was kind of stuck away from a different role and now gets to kind of step back into the Jet. And not only that, going up against another Jet and former teammate in Jazzykins. And it's all love here, Sapphire. This just uses wholesomeness, just talking about how excited she is to play her former teammate.
Yeah, we obviously love to see that there's no, bad blood and any of that breakup. I think they obviously had a very strong history together. But yeah, certainly is interesting to see Katsumi play that new role, play that duelist role, the role that Jazzy had before. So this is the first time we're going to be able to see these two face off against each other in a shared role.
Yeah, we talk about how players swap roles frequently, and the weirdest one for me is always going to be like a controller or a sentinel to a duelist. The variation in style of play from one to the next is kind of insane. So for Katsumi to go from playing more of a pensive role in a controller to now a more aggressive role in a duelist is an interesting swap. And then matching up against a former teammate who played that role and responsibility in their time on Cloud9 White. I think a lot of people are waiting for that face-off to happen. Now, we don't always see the duelists run into each other, but when we do, it'll be a nice taste of who's going to come out on top, because when you look at the stats, despite the long tenure from Jazzy in that role, they're really not that far off. ACS just 18 higher, KD a little bit better for Katsumi. First kills, first deaths, pretty much 1-to-1 for both players. So this is really interesting. I want to see these two actually run into each other early in the series and get a taste of what it's going to be like when the teammates clash.
The fact that we'll be able to see that direct head-to-head, even if we don't see them quite be opting off against each other, being able to compare at the end of it, who was maybe a little bit more impactful for the team. It's all love, it's all a fun little rivalry, but I'm really excited to see how that one plays out. And this series in general, our map picks and bans, where this series is going to be starting off. It's a little bit of a familiar look when we look at series and where we're starting off, where it's going to be Ascent, XSET's pick here, Bach.
That's not surprising whatsoever. This is a map they have clearly liked. They've played it 6 times throughout this event, going back to the open qualifier, and they're 5-1 on it. So really, it's not a shock that they're going to be coming in and picking this map as their #1 map. It's also a map that Complexity has had mixed results on. They lost to CLG Red in the open in the qualifier. They lost to version 1 in the upper semifinals yesterday, 13-3. I mean, they absolutely got slaughtered. So this is a great way for XSET to try to start out this pool. Then we move over to Pearl, and while we've seen them have success on Pearl for the side of Complexity, this is also a really good map for this XSET roster. So the first 2 maps really playing into their favor. If map 1 goes heavily in favor of XSET, I fear that they could steamroll a little bit here, but it's still not a done deal because Pearl is comfort as well for Complexity.
Yeah, we saw, and I think that's where Jazzy comes to play. And obviously, we were talking about Jazzy on the Duelist, but that Sage role was incredibly impactful on Pearl. Their ability to get in and make that plant very, very quickly, pushing the team off the site, and turning that into a 5v5 retake was certainly impressive. So that's going to be an interesting one there. And then as we close out on Haven, it's a map where both of the teams have had a lot of success on this. We saw that Complexity really dominated a number of times on Haven to get through the qualifier itself. But I don't know, kind of even playing field as we look at that final map.
What I'm really excited for later on in the series is going to be the agent selection, because Pearl, there's definitely a lot of potential for a lot of spice. But looking ahead at Ascent here, I mean, Bach, you told us earlier on that Ascent, I mean, it's been here for so long, it's so figured out, and really when we look at potential compositions, it feels like these teams also kind of just have that figured out, to where really not expecting anything too spicy. It's more so just going to be some good Valorant needing to be played.
Yeah, I think both teams come in with the same composition. They're going to rock a KO, Sova, Jet, Killjoy, and Omen, if I'm not mistaken, which is pretty standard on this map. You see a lot of teams run that comp. Every once in a while, you'll see somebody mix things up with the controller, maybe even add a secondary controller as opposed to a second initiator. But for the most part, that does feel pretty standard for a lot of teams. We've seen teams even bring the Raze in instead of the Jet. And I don't think it's the worst thing on earth, but I definitely feel like that is a Jets playground.
Yeah.
So I would anticipate that both teams would come in with a mirror comp. It's when we get to Pearl that things get a little bit more interesting and teams can really flex their agent pool, because there's so much variability on what teams decide to bring to the table when we look at a map like Pearl. But I say that, and we're jumping into the agent select. I do wonder if maybe somebody's got something up their sleeve. Maybe somebody will come in with a trick because they know how much weight is on this match.
Hey, I'd be super down for that, to do not get me wrong, but also feel, Sapphire, when we look ahead, that sometimes sticking to Overliable is kind of what you need to do, because being able to get off on the right foot for this first map can be so big. It's not always the make it or break it, as we got to see last series, but we'll see the lock-in, and it's pretty atypical.
Yeah, that always kind of eats you alive if you try something risky. It's an elimination match and it doesn't play out. So I think it makes sense to stick with what you know, stick with what's gotten you this far to this point.
Yeah, I'm really excited though with Ascent with the mirror composition, because that's where you really get to see the differences in these players and who's going to really be able to step up. And we need both teams to step up. Elimination on the line, and our game is ready. So it's time to head over to Doug and Bala. I'll figure out a good name for the two of you by the end of the day, but time for a first match.
Thank you, Sierra. I'm personally excited, Bala, to see what she comes up with. I'm also excited for this match because, as the desk was saying, this is the last chance for these two teams, and much like we saw in the first series, these are the situations that bring out the best in players.
Oh my goodness, that first series was crazy. You saw how the amount of clutches that went out and how much these people are playing for this top 4 situation right now, right? It's elimination and also top 4 on the line. They're going to join, whoever wins this is going to join version 1, going to join Shopify and Moist, who just went through in that prior game. So it's a lot of stakes, and I couldn't be more excited to watch because they've already impressed me a little bit throughout this Game Changers main event.
I mean, we talked so much about complexity yesterday because we casted their match, but also the individual playmaking from Carr, from Claudia. It was unreal. And then you have the pedigree, right? Like the championship-winning DNA in XSET, in Cat, in Bob, and you go, well, this is just going to be a banger.
Yeah. Plus the potential rivalry between Jazzykins and the players you just mentioned, Bob and Katsumi. Former Cloud9 White, kind of mixing it up on both sides now. So let's see which of the former Cloud9 White will make it through to join their teammates in V1 to top 4. And it is slow from both sides. I like this re-exploration from Panday. Just by herself, not really able to fully capitalize on like a flash play or anything that would catch them all. And also slowly exploring, whereas if she did give any info up, it wouldn't be the entire team. So I'm going to regroup right before the KO knives come back up and should be executing here on the B side. It's up to Raze and Lace, who Lace was so good yesterday.
Yeah, they were feeling interesting. Raze is the only one who's up right now. You start to see both players back up towards the back of the site as the hit from XSET leans over towards A. Has arrived, and the other couple members are waiting. Seemed like they were a bit unconvinced that the hit was actually going B. But all doubt should be called here as Cat gets the opener, a second too. Unreal.
One enemy.
This was going to be really close.
Standing.
Claudia, again, a clutch situation, and she delivers.
What is that to start? Come on. Everything just gets crazy as they go for that drone, that late drone out from Bob after the shock dart comes in from Lace. And should have been able to clear the site, but Complexity did such a good job falling back, receiving that secondary layer of pushing coming out from XSET, and then the flood while that contact was going on. Really, really nicely done. From both sides, honestly. I really like that pistol from XSET. The way that they regrouped, the way that they were dodging the knife on the first wave of the execute. Again, I mentioned a lot how Complexity looked very prepared, how the players and the coaching staff did come up with some really nice anti-strats in their games yesterday. And XSET showing me that it might be exactly the same.
Another quiet start for the attacking side. A would pick up the orb, rotate back B. And you wonder here if they're just going to continue to try to funnel these into Cat, perhaps, who's now 3 points away from the Blades.
I'm a little worried here. Lace does have an Ares. She can go for a spam, but on the other side, they have 2 sheriffs, so...
Oh, they're quiet. They're quiet. No cues. Has to hit. That shock dart hurts. The second one's not going to feel great either.
Enemy remaining.
But they're just able to keep them all back. Raze will figure out the round. Bob, the only one that remains in a flawless round for Complexity.
That one just trying to flood in the middle of the knife timings, which is kind of nice, but not getting the orb. They only got the one on the A side. They could have easily gotten that one too, and then making it flawless for Complexity. No spike plant, nothing like that for XSET, so gotta keep commending these shocks from Lace. That one was so good. Easily gave the Spectre of Raze 3 kills without any real fight. And now we're going to start to get aggressive here from Complexity. They're going to start to go into A-main. We haven't seen any real map control challenge outside of the basic defaults right where the barriers land.
Right.
And for XSET, down middle as well, they've got the turret in pizza, which is very interesting.
You don't see that very often. Claudia close by as well, but the turret cleared out.
I do like the setup because they get a deep alarm bot at the beginning of the round. So it's definitely a unique setup. Redrone coming in from Lace as well. Kind of exposed over towards spawn. I wonder if they could read that position. Kara wants to go for a time flash.
But they can play so far back. Maybe he wasn't far up enough for them to really be able to swing off of that alarm bot.
Yeah, that alarm bot is honestly too deep for that flash play setup that they want. Maybe if Race is the one flashing there, they could follow up on it, but here comes a hit through Cat. Good flash, good counter molly though.
Better kill from Jazzykins, but this time Cat winning out that duel. 5 HP left for her though.
Last player standing.
Playing with it, she's flirting with it, and she gets dropped. Very quickly, the round goes sideways for XSET as Bob is the only one that remains.
30 seconds left.
1v4-2. Great bonus from Complexity right out the gates. Bob gonna try. And I have been super impressed with Bob on Ascent overall throughout her entire career. But this one's a little too much here. 10 seconds, doesn't have the spike planted. Another flash coming in. Yeah, just go ahead and save that handle.
I don't know, man. After that Emily clutch in the last series, I just don't trust anything anymore.
When's the last time you seen an Omen ult clutch? Like,
yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true.
It's crazy. Again, good setups from Complexity. I like the diversity. I like the creativity too, with the ability to flex that setup from Claudia.
Mm-hmm.
Some very nice things, and I love how much they're paying attention to the timings that are going through with the information utility from Bob from Bunny B. She's so often dodging the knives and making sure her util is up all the time. And I know that's like a very basic thing for Killjoy players, but
you'd be surprised.
Exactly.
Standing ahead.
Wonder, no, it doesn't look like any damage was dealt at all. Well, Cat and Bunny B got a little bit.
Cat's out, or Katsumi's out.
She's swinging around too. This is fast and ferocious from XSET.
Yeah, the difference in pace there, right? Normally you're waiting for at least 40 seconds before heading out on the default, and they just push up.
Oh, that shock nade combo. I don't know if that's going to hit anyone though. The second one will deal some damage as Complexity attempt to take the site back from the hands of XSET. And it seems to be working. What can Cat do? She has blades and just stingers around her. But Jazzykins is the one who's left in this 1v2. An opportunity to leave XSET in a world of hurt. Not landing. The classic does though, and it's the shots from Panday at the end that saved the round. That was way too close.
Switching to the classic, I think you really expected the other player to be either wrapping you or just hiding backside. But
yeah,
I think in both of those cases, you're going to see the pace come back up. So from Cat to close out this round, give time for this final flank too. And I do like Jazzy just goes for it. Make sure to put down Cat. Felt a little personal there. Cat used to be the smokes player for Cloud9 White, the legendary roster. And so it's funny that these two former teammates, great friends, going up against each other. And now Jazzy, of course, did play duelist for that team. But Cat is trying to take it to her on the jet.
And she's taking it to A right now. She's able to sidestep that paranoia, but the alarm bot gives her away, and Raze is able to clean her up.
Oh. Bob as well, getting 1 kill. They've actually pulled the entire rotate. That was a fake the entire time.
Yeah, Bob has ult.
And yeah, that's, I mean, what a good play too. If she has ult, she could play all the way back in B main. So if they can get this B site, and they do, already paying attention to the over rotations here from Complexity based off of that flood that happened on the pistol. You can see Jazz is actually holding for Bob to try to cross tiles, but I don't think Bob has any intention of crossing.
Well,
so with that op, she has to fall back into mid to join her team.
the Molly cleared out. As Kara and Claudia play from the smokes. Another clean shot up from Claudia. But the safety valve is Bob's ult. Oh, it's used early. Oh, but it hit 2. Oh, they're so dead. That's a way to secure a round.
That might not be just clean yet. Jazz is trying to make a meal of it.
That would have been a filthy shot.
And they clean up fine. I love that from Bob. Actually, you think that she's going to use it for the tab when they get on the side.
Yeah, absolutely.
But not only is her team playing aggressively on it, but she has that dart coming back up. And you're never expecting like a deep dart, like a specific lineup on like in front of Switch. So that was huge. Look, it tagged all 3 players who were coming out of spawn. Neat little Sova tech, and that's, yeah, said it. That's a way to secure the round, especially playing off your teammate's info too. Even if that dart misses, you can find something off radar. K ult now as well for XSET. They've been interested in these fast hits, but I do love the way that they're calling right now.
Oh, this is fast again.
They don't have
I hope you like more of this.
Knife.
Kara looks like she's just left asleep at the wheel. Bunny B cleans her up. The ult continues to clear out the site, and they have full control of B here.
And they deep alarm bot 2 turret covering the other side, and they can flash off of this. Bunny B has 1 flash, so that alarm bot could do some serious damage.
And if it doesn't, I mean, just her positioning alone is just so powerful. It's going to be really difficult to clear her out and to reestablish control of the site.
Oh, she's
What
not in a
complexity
position
have
to
to try?
flash off of it. They want to fight instead. And now the other player smoked off of B main, so Bunny B can't die here.
Jazzykin's going up top. Oh, not able to ride the slide the rest of the way. Okay, playing in the smoke, swinging out. The frenzy's too much. The blades are too. It's a 3v3, but time is low, and the clip runs dry.
Player standing.
It's just not enough time for this.
Yeah,
Clutch.
just way too slow there. I'm surprised the clock ticked down as fast as it did, but it took so long for them to get out of spawn. Also, Jazzy rotating off of Cat round after round there. I'm wondering if she waited for that timing again for 1 player to cross, but Complexity 3 rounds in a row now.
1 enemy remaining.
My ult is ready.
Yeah, clean little 3K out from Lace.
Yeah, right at the end. Knocks everybody out, so I think it's a clutch, but truly there's just no time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, responding out of losing the bonus to now coming up 3 rounds, getting a thrifty win, and then getting the next 2 as well off the backs of some key ults. Again, I'm looking at the beginning of this half, and I'm thinking XSET have come in so prepared. The calling is fantastic right now. And I'm a little concerned for Complexity. That's why they call the timeout right away, because 3 in a row on Ascent on attack is already starting to be danger territory. When you think about how this map plays at a high level,
Yeah.
just consistently so defense-sided, especially with these 2 comps. It's the bog standard.
Alarm bot out.
In some of those early rounds, you could see why, right? The amount of space you can own with the Killjoy, the amount of fast rotates you can get off, how you can play aggressive in A main if you so desire. Odin on the hands of Bob, looking to try to find the spam. You did see Lace in those positions early, but not this round.
No, actually on the opposite side of the map. With the Phantom low less, but starting to rotate over. Only ult to think of here is for XSET is Rises, but Pandy's just a couple of points away, so you imagine they grab the orb, get 1 step closer to having the lockdown online. Yeah, it's exactly the plan.
It overall has been
Wait, are they going to get both?
And she's staying over there right now. Looks like they want to break the alarm bomb. I'm not sure if she did any damage originally to that, so. Without the second shock dart. Not gonna be a guarantee. They're going for the fake again.
Yeah, and you've been praising XSET's calling, and this is a different look. And it's a similar fake, but even just the way that they're going about it is different. And going 1-for-1 on the site feels okay when it's a fake.
The dart just cleared, and there's also no jet in the site. So Complexity is not calling the full rotate like they did last time.
Seconds left.
They have so many tools for retake, too. They have the Hunter's Fury, and they have the lockdown. Rise is
they don't
aggressive.
No.
Now position spotted. Lace almost has the timing, but what can Cat do? The first one falls, the second one just around the wall.
Cover going out.
Not able to connect.
There's 2 low HP players now, but the one thing is Panday playing all the way back in main. So that's something that they're going to have to clear eventually, but she can play all she wants.
Bob's been able to sidestep the dart, yep. Rise down in hell, it had to be cleared out. Now you've got the mollies you're going to have to navigate around.
She suspects Bob. So does Bob. That is clean. Again, they're calling. That one, I think for sure you see how Complexity responded. You see how they talked in the timeout about how we were over-rotating in that situation earlier. But in this case, you actually have XSET with one more layer. With this Omen ult that goes on top, you expect the rotate, if they did slightly rotate, even a little bit, how it would easily get you the space on the site. You have to have a full anchor in these situations. And if they don't recognize that early, XSET are going to continue to pull at these rotates.
I wonder how they choose, given the conversation we've been having around early rotates.
No more.
Uh-oh.
Nobody broke the dart there. And now things are starting to pile up to look like mistakes here. On the side of Complexity. Yeah, it's anti-eco for XSET, so they're happy to take these fights, but Complexity is trying to get a pick down bottom mid. Somebody has to break the dart there for the scout, for the Marshall.
Old habits die hard, huh? Look at this Killjoy setup on B or on A. Yeah.
When your Sentinel player goes AFK and then comes back to ace.
Cat's dash forward and is going to be able to clear a lot of the site, but you're right, Claudia's still here. The alarm bot, not enough for the swing. Now Claudia swings out. Yeah. Way too many targets have to deal with, way too many angles have to clear.
I'm surprised she walked out of dark there. Instead of
staying back, yeah.
Yeah, because her molly is to deny them from coming up on the left side of dice so she could fight Jen. And instead, she just walks out in front of it. And I think it's because she feels so much pressure with all the rest of her team going down. I really like the post points as well that you're seeing from XSET. It's been multiple rounds in a row now, but you see, for example, Riot just throwing a flash there for Katsumi to peek up on top of the little box. Another flash coming in for her. If you're Complexity, you're terrified of walking up Heaven here for the remainder of the game.
They're doing such a good job of setting Cat up to succeed.
Should get away with the dash. And that's 5 in a row. A timeout already called for Complexity, and nothing really got fixed. I think they definitely discussed the rotation aspect of it. And I might be speaking too early because obviously they've only played one gun round, but XSET have just got the read. It's not even a read, it's just their calling. It's like they came into this game 100% knowing how Complexity was going to play Ascent.
You know, in large part, perhaps to the fact that the compositions are very similar to what kind of we're used to seeing, but you're right. They definitely seem to have a beat on things. A quick tech pause has been called, and as soon as we get info on what it is that's causing the delay, we'll keep you all informed. But for now, the main story is Complexity look great. XSET, well, at least they look great for the first 3 rounds, and then XSET have just had full run of the mill since.
Yeah, it's been super clean. I mean, again, we're talking multiple rounds now where the fake is relatively successful. First one definitely was Bob getting that kill on A and just like rotating around, getting that Hunter's Fury. There's so much going well for the side of XSET. And we need to see some plans come together here for Complexity.
Placing swarm grenade.
I'm concerned right away because of how we have a lockdown here.
Placing swarm grenade.
And there's a Hunter's Fury for XSET, but no Hunter's Fury on the other side of Complexity. So
Yeah, Lace doesn't have the same tool. You're right.
and also they've been getting sight very easily. Jazzy hasn't really been challenged when she's had the op, and I'm surprised to see her go back towards A. Usually you start to get frustrated as the jet op when you don't find space.
Oh, I think she had a sliver. What a shot.
I mean, what an ult to respond.
Yeah. How is she still alive? And that's a I mean, that's what's so resable.
The lockdown will come in though eventually. I'm surprised Panda's not falling back already. Looks like they want to go for a closed door protocol. They did use that ult, so they want to fight for the KJ ult.
That flash is going to be good. Yes, it is.
Done.
The lockdown used in Complexity. I mean, given the rough start,
No way.
maybe Rise can snatch it back. Bob's left in this 1v2. The spike ticking away, but there's an Odin in play. The tap instantly pulled off. This looks like trouble. I don't like this. 21 bullets. The jump peak.
There's no time anymore. There's
No
no time.
way. No way.
Just crazy.
Oh, and they lose the op.
Oh, that one's a clutch round. That's a 1v2 from Bob there. That dart finding the tag just hurts so bad when you're Katsumi. 8 HP against an Odin in a spammable angle. I can't believe that Bob even went for that ult.
Yeah.
Knowing she walked through the molly, knowing that she was low, it was such a good idea. And she ends up getting a kill from it, but it's on the resible KO who's down on the ground.
Placing swarm grenade.
But then she comes up big anyways, and that's now what, 2 big rounds for Bob?
Yeah, I believe so.
I mean, looks like they wanted to go for a shark attack there where Jazzy will dash into her own smoke, but she pathed so oddly there.
Yeah.
And there's no real follow. I mean, her smoke's not even out for the players who are top mid. You've got to be able to get in that smoke.
Ray's already falling as well. Complexity really only had pistols.
One enemy remaining.
Yeah.
And well, it's going as expected.
I'm surprised they went for that type of idea on the eco round.
Me too.
When you're ecoing, a lot of times you want to end up in like advantage situations where you find the weak side of the map. And I think the idea there, you're going very aggressive. You can definitely come up with a kill, but you're not really going to be able to follow up on picking up a gun or also finding a space where there's going to be multi-kills.
Right.
So
At best, you're one and done there, right? You have no help.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That, to me, is starting to indicate that they're kind of out of ideas. I would have loved to see that on a gun round, for example. So they're reaching into their playbook to try to find something. And, okay, they've swapped Jazzy now over to this B site with the op. See what she can find. This is a huge, huge fight because, again, she's not been challenged when she has the op, except on that A push, but the full execute is so difficult to deal with. You want to find early picks.
No shot at anything. The flash pushes her off the angle, and the shots from Katsumi are good.
She's
Perhaps a
nice.
little labored, but delivered nonetheless.
Can't even dash away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very well set up. I mean, these protocols from XSET are clean. Even the paranoia just to push off the potential of the op there.
It also was tucked in such a way that even if you're as tight as possible against that boat, as tight as possible against that corner where sometimes you can get away
Yeah.
and not get flushed. And look, they're trying to act like there's a fake right now, breaking the window. They're going to ult. Actually, they are faking.
Wait, yeah,
Fully.
no, this ain't an act. This is the real deal. The spike is going to show up so late, though. XSET have to be able to hold on to control of the site while the spike rotates over. And there are so many members of Complexity that have already arrived. Rise playing on the other side of the smoke with 70 HP. This is a big chance for something. Not able to deliver. Complexity seem to be able, yeah, they're going to right the ship on this one as they get to 4.
Spike didn't even get planted
Last
there.
round
As you said, it
before
was
the
so
switch.
far away. I thought when they went for that ult, they were going to cancel, stay on the B site, but the spike was out. And so we'll get another tech pause, but that's finally a response here from Complexity. A much needed one. Again, The sidedness of this map is fully defense-sided. And when you have XSET calling so well, you start to expect that the same antis that are being called right now are going to be called on the defense.
Yeah, I would assume, yeah.
On the scoreboard too, I think mostly what you expect. Lace has been one of the top-rated players so far in the main event. Bob as well is just consistently up there. And I think as well, like, the calling on this side, I think it looks so familiar to what some of the old Cloud9 white calls were, with Bob and Katsumi leading the way.
They've been so effective in their new roles. Well, Cat specifically. But yeah, they look really good. I am being told that it seems like there's an issue with the player's game that is causing this tech pause. So as soon as we get it figured out and sorted, we'll get back into the action. 7-4 lead for XSET, close to halftime. And they had won, XSET had won, what, 7 rounds in a row? Something along those lines. And I mean, it had been, 7 rounds in a row. So for Complexity, honestly, Balo, to win the round, win that round to keep things close, right? Because given the momentum that they had, the possibility of a 9-3 is very high, or, you know, something along those lines. The fact that you lose 7 rounds in a row and still have a shot at 7-5, you'll take that.
Yeah, you'll take that. I mean, for sure.
Maybe not preferred, but you'll take it.
Yeah, based off of how the way the game has gone, like, take any round you can get eventually. I don't think any player on Complexity is going to be happy about it, but see if they think there's a chance. Obviously, there always is. And I'm looking at the ults now. I appreciate observers pulling it back up. There's not going to be anything significant here except for maybe Bunny B's KO ults. So if I'm looking at that in this timeout, I'm trying to formulate a plan to try to stop that ult orb from being picked up by Complexity. So that's an Odin or some spammable weapon inside of B main, and Jazzykin getting on the angle on A main, a one-way to challenge. Maybe a nade setup from Kara as well. So we'll see if they opt to do something like that. Looks like they're going to go for that really nice turret and deep alarm bot on Cat setup. And nobody B main at all. But they will fight and challenge for A main. It's going to be another fast B here. They're just going to flash.
Yep.
KO has the spike right now, so it looks like they want to have that KO ult for late in the round.
How far up does Lace play here? Tagged instantly, and that should cause some of the space to be given up. Why risking, right?
Nice deep knife, too, to follow up. Canceling the drone. There's no shocks able to come out for Lace. And now they recognize no alarm bot here? Oh, for sure. They're happy with what's gone on because they saw the turret probably in mid as well.
Get out of my way!
This blade's online. Spike gets planted. After XSET established control, a second blade storm used.
Gotta find the right timing here
man.
for the KO. They've got to find the right timing to get it like before any crucial smokes or flashes come out.
Well, there's the ult. You called for it. Is it too early? It is going to buy plenty of time. Look at how carefully they have to clear everything. That knife is so good. What can the Hunter Fury find? Bob playing from backside.
Enemy remaining.
A little bit of damage, but Complexity left in tatters.
I mean, that is just brutal. I think the KO was perfectly timed. Right as they came out of spawn, that's when it got tapped.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it was based off a flash or anything from XSET, but then the flash dart, follow-up, the recon that landed, obscured it so they couldn't break it, and that's just re-spam. With the Odin that was in the hands of Lace too. What a good combination. Again, these post plants. So solid from XSET.
Incredibly keen. And I think a lot of the issue too was there was just so many things they still had to clear. I think you're right. The delay of the ult was just enough to force them to hesitate and then have to clear B main, for example. Clear logs, clear every single part of the site before they can even get to the actual site itself. It was just so well done.
Bob ends the AF on 13 kills. And I think 4 of them were Hunter's Fury kills. 3 ults from Asova, who has 8 pings, is ridiculous.
Standing ahead.
8-4. XSET coming in the defense half, and we saw their post plants. A lot of times you can start to see like what kind of reactive defensive setups you can have by watching an attack team on their post plants. And it was really nice. Playing retake is a little different.
That flash is good though. Jazzy falls off. My
Spike down
goodness.
A.
I mean, that's
Yeah, Cat's very good.
Remaining.
Very, very good. I mean, XSET just wiped the floor with complexity that round.
That was, again, such a cool dart, too, from Bob. You saw it landed on top of the door where you have to put the switch. And that's, like, completely out of left field. Something that's really difficult when you're playing, like, scan initiators, when you're playing, like, a Sova or you're playing a Fade, is coming up with newer darts. You see how that one bounced off the left wall?
Yeah.
And you have to keep them guessing. You can't let them know exactly where your dart's coming. Some things that a lot of Sovas do is just continue to use the same dart over and over and over. And it's you just get your crosshair ready for it. Bob,
gotta
not
innovate.
at all.
Especially in a map like this. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the oldest maps at this point.
Yep.
It was here when the game released, so.
Enemy tagged.
And already some differences between the two defensive sides, right? Like, I don't think you ever saw Jazzy on her defense walking up B main like that with a drone. There's always a lot more passive trying to spot where they're defaulting towards.
A dash for a nade. Life still preserved for now. Cat's gonna have so many targets here. The first one falls, dashes away, finds cover behind the smoke.
Interesting smoke, but my goodness, Cat has got to be so happy that Bob was there with the Ares to spray them down. That was their own smoke. That was the attack side smoke to try to like find. I mean, there they just jumped through it because they thought Jazzy was, or not Jazzy, Cat was really low.
Survivors rest. I'll clean up.
But I'm not sure if they wanted to do that in the first place. I think they want to cross out the switch and flood out stairs in that case, or maybe even just walk out.
Sure. It was too tempting to have Cat there tagged up.
Yeah.
Too tempting.
Yeah.
The intrusive thoughts won. Bob at 17 and 6. Right place, right time. It's been so effective this half, this map.
It's all grouped up here for complexity. No big ults to even signify this rush, so it could catch XSET off guard, especially if they have a flash dart set up. And Jazzy can go fast. She will. Oh,
And she'll regret it.
I mean,
Rise again there to greet.
it was good util, but
Yeah.
just not fast enough for Jazzy on the movement, and the smoke was perfect. Makes sense that they're falling off now, Doug, because they lost the engagement power that they have, and they have to wait for these cooldowns to come back up. They have to wait for smoke cooldowns to come back, the dart cooldown. The only thing they do have is the knife, and they're going to use it towards... Sounded like Market, yeah. Just flying over top. Clears it, but they're not really having anybody who can capitalize off of it, because normally you have somebody running up mid at this point to break. Oh, no. Shock's
Not
coming in
another.
on Claudia.
No tags. They're going to continue to push Bob off.
Oh, she's scanned. Oh, gosh.
Yep.
Oh,
And flashed. Where's the challenge? The challenge is late. The challenge is late.
look at the cat
That's
push, though.
okay.
They're getting trapped, too. They're getting pinched. It's all Claudia.
30 seconds
No
left.
way.
Spike down. Defender spawn.
Panda is a sheriff. Bunny Bee is a specter. But they're on the wrong side of the map.
Last player
Flash is
standing.
good. That flash is so good. Now Lace is spotted. One of the two members that remain.
seconds left.
She's going to get the spike down, too. There's a shot at this, Bala. There's a really good shot at this. 3 seconds on the dart, too.
Where does she reposition? Oh, that knife is going to spot where she is. She could be Jen, but they're both clearing back through trees, so they'll easily clear that. And they should have process elimination to put her in dark.
But there's time here. There's time to where Lace could have repositioned. No dart
One
usage.
enemy remaining.
One falls. Patient on the second. Bunny Bee's swing is just too good.
Yeah, that was a good double clear by them, just walking up through Jen.
Yeah. Yep.
After that knife spots, you're right, there's a time to reposition, but all the places you're going to reposition to there are clearable by two, right? Are clearable by the angles that they're walking into. So There's never a way to really isolate that fight. I think the biggest thing that they needed to be concerned about is if she repositioned back up Heaven. But even that, there wasn't really time for it. And Lace almost never will do that, given the fact that they could just be in Heaven waiting for it.
Sure. Well, that's a good point.
XSET just, I mean, they're running away with this. It's defense. I expected this, but again, the ideas from Complexity on
Revealing area.
both their eco and the gun round that we just saw. Not the best. Looks desperation to me. Look at this setup. Cat will take contact. They wait for the drone. And it won't get canceled, but that was a good flash.
Bob gets 2 from mid. They're going for the jugular. They had such a good setup, expecting pressure in from B main and from mid.
Oh, early KO popped as well.
But look at how Panday's repositioned. I mean, you can't effectively clear this. And as soon as the ult subsides, the util's going to be a problem. Ah, both cleared out. Wait, but she walked right over one of them. Yep, there it is.
There's back up too. It's a little chip damage here and there by both those little pieces. They are expecting Panda in A main. This drone though might get the timing for it to peak.
Wow. A difficult situation here.
1 enemy remaining.
They still have numbers. Kara's gonna get down to a 1v2, but Kara gets cleaned up eventually. XSET's gonna get the defuse and get to map point.
This has been a masterclass on Ascent from XSET.
Yeah, very clean.
I love the setup that they went for there, especially flashing off of the drone.
Match
and these are the
point.
little things where you see teams set up to throw a specific piece of utility off of your opponents. A lot of times, sure, it's standard utility, but also you don't necessarily guarantee that Lace is going to use her drone in that spot unless you watch the VODs. So these little things that show the prep coming out from XSET make me very concerned for the rest of these series. Pearl looked great for Complexity yesterday, but XSET looked fantastic right now.
Yeah. That is an attempt at making a play that feels a bit labored and forced right there.
And again, there's the counter from Bob with a Sova ult that's coming through as soon as there's contact made on that spite.
Complexity down to the last hope, really. And they find themselves down in personnel.
I love Bob's reposition down mid. Don't love peeking because she's kind of trapped, but it's Bob, so
Revealing area.
All good.
you do you.
All good.
Remaining.
A 1-for-1 there still pays off, still in favor of XSET.
No way to expect Cat.
No, much like we saw in the previous round, you lose A main control, and it's so difficult to clear that from there.
Yeah, they just kind of try to rush up Cat, and that is dominant from XSET. I mean, that is dominant. 13-4 on the map. I mean, one round out of all the different streaks that what 7 in a row on attack side is just crazy. And credit to them. I mean, the calling was insane. So hats off.
I mean, it was versatile. You can tell they were diligent in their protocols. They knew exactly what they wanted to do. And Balla, it's funny, you mentioned it, what, round 2, maybe? It was really early when you said it really feels like XSET are prepared. I'm like, Balla, what are you talking about?
When they were down 2-0, yeah, it's a Balla classic.
You were right. You were right. A 1-0 series lead for XSET as they dominate Complexity on Ascent. Map 2 on the other side of this break. Don't go anywhere.